And I'd like to introduce you to our amazing presenter, Jason Hughes. Jason has worked at the credit union for 5 years and is currently a certified financial counselor in our financial wellness department. Jason likes to travel and is a foodie. He enjoys food like the Indian cuisine. His favorite destinations are Cape Town, South Africa, and Mexico. And he also helps with our cadet programs, which is our pilot presentations. And he's actually in the simulators, he was able to take off and land by himself with no problems. So, Jason, I'll check in with you for now or later, but the floor is yours.
All right, so just a quick actually correction on that. The issue is I can actually get you in the air, I just cannot bring you down yet. So if you get on a plane with me, like we're stuck in the air literally. So just to correct you a little bit, I have been in the simulator to go up, but not to actually land. All right, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And before we get started, I would like to point out that today's webinar is a question and answer section is for educational purposes only. Final rates and or any products, services, and offer requirements should be confirmed with the credit union representative at the time of service. All right. So let's dive into what we're going to be talking about today, right? As you saw in the title of this particular presentation, we're going to be talking about breaking up with debt, also known as, in other words, right, paying off debt, okay? And before we dive into each topic, starting with the next slide, I wanted to share with you that this presentation is one that I am truly passionate about, right? As I myself have been in debt, both good and bad, and through accountability and financial literacy, I have been able to pay myself out of debt, right? I can also say that in the majority of my appointments, most members list reducing debt or to completely pay off debt as their personal financial goal is number one on their list, right? So if you're wanting to get out of debt and need to set a foundation on how to do it, I'm hoping that, this presentation will provide some guidance and give you guys some tools and resources to help you be able to do that, okay? So on to today's agenda, what we're going to be discussing. First off, we're going to cover, what America's relationship with debt currently is, right? We'll also discuss ways to be able to differentiate good debt from bad debt. We'll talk about ways to break up with debt, also pay off debt, right? And then we'll talk about areas that we can help in and then offer you some tools and resources, okay?
All right, Jason, I got it from here for our first polling question. And just a reminder, if you're tuning in from a mobile device, you may need to slide left or right on your screen to see the polling questions and options. So we want to know, how would you describe your relationship with debt? A, I don't have any debt. B, I have a healthy relationship with debt. C, or it's toxic and it's time to break up. Personally, Jason, I think I have a healthy relationship with debt. I'm slowly working off paying off some of my student loans. I don't know. I'm gonna have to tag Sarah in on this. How would you describe
Yeah,
your relationship?
thankfully, I'm also in the B category. Mine's pretty healthy. I, give it some payments on time, but fortunately not in the C category. What about you guys or panelists?
Well, unfortunately and fortunately, right, I'm all over the gamut, right? I'm all over the place. So depending on the time of the year, where I'm at in my life, will determine, where I have been. I have actually been in all of these areas. Fortunately for me, I'm in a healthy mix between A and B right now, but giving the vacation that I want to go on or the type of clothes that I want to buy, it may vary. So, yeah.
All right. Well, it looks like our polling question is closed, and um, a majority of our room or of our attendees today chose C. It's toxic and it's time to break up. Well, you guys are in the right spot because Jason's gonna help you break up with debt. So I'll give it back to you.
All right. So consumers in the United States owed 17.94 trillion in total debt as of Q3 in 2024, according to nerdwallet.com. That's a 2.4 increase from the 17.15 trillion total Nerd Wallet measured in 2023 in Q3. The relatively restrained increase in total debt levels compared with prior years is partly attributable to a slowly rising inflation rate, which has dropped to less than 3% for the first time since 2022. Although one might conclude that with both overall inflation and total consumer debt growth slowing, individual types of debt would exhibit similar patterns, right? On the contrary, credit card debt has increased to $626.8 billion and increased 1.54% year over year. And it's been pretty consistent in all of the other areas of debt also, right? Which is a huge reason that we're having this conversation today, because we identified that, we kind of have a problem with debt, right? And want to give you guys tools and resources to be able to combat that and to be able to pay it off, okay? Some things that I actually did want to point out is that Gen X carries the most consumer debt of any generation. And debt also is still the leading cause for stress and divorce. Okay.
All right, I got us for our second polling questions. And it looks like our answer choices are incorrect. Sarah, can you help me out with the correct ones?
Yeah, I'll read them out loud. So it's going to be A, $5,356, B, $7,653, C, $10,563, or D, $15,635.
And while they might not be correct right on the screen, you should see the correct options in the polling.
In the polling here.
So, yeah, sweet. Thank you, Sarah.
I think Jason may have teased at the answer earlier in his previous slide, so we'll see
Oops.
if I had to guess, I would probably say B. Personally for me, that's just my guess without knowing the answer. Let's see. We have 2 more people wrapping up. But majority of folks are saying C, 10,000 and D, $15,000. So yeah, it's about evenly split between C and D, those 2 answers. So Jason, what's the answer?
Drum roll. The answer is C, guys. Based on information that we have received from nerdwallet.com, for the most part, Americans are going to carry about 10,000. I can't see the number now exactly, but the 10,000 number C in total household debt. Now that we know that, right, let's first look at what is considered good debt versus what is considered bad debt. Okay. So typically, for the most part, some of the things that you're going to look at in terms of traits for good debt and bad debt is for good debt specifically, you're going to want to look at anything that actually increases your net worth, right? Anything like real estate and things like that, physical money, right? Things that debt on items that increase in value over time, such as real estate again. Debt that you can easily pay off in a short amount of time. And some examples of those things are going to be mortgages. They're going to also be educational loans, and they are going to be business loans, okay? For mortgages, the reason that that's considered some good debt is because number one, it's going to be something that appreciates over longer periods of time, right? And so the longer that you have loans against those, right, the more the value of the property increases. I can say personally, I purchased a house just shortly after the housing crisis in 2000 and 7, 2008. And, in the event that I look at, the value that I purchased my house at that particular time versus what it's worth as of right now, it's significantly more than what I purchased it for. In addition to that, right, over the course of however many years that's been, right, I've actually paid down on the loan, which gives me a huge amount of equity, right? So that's something that would be considered good debt, okay? On the contrary, what are some things to look for to be able to label as bad debt, right? Anything that carries high interest carries high interest rate in terms of a loan, right? Debt on something that decreases in value faster than what you can pay it off. High balances on revolving debt, okay? And so some of the examples on that are going to be payday loans, right? In the event that, anyone here has unfortunately ever been in the position to have to take out payday loans because they come with such high fees and such high interest rates, right? They are considered bad debt. In addition to that, something like high interest credit cards, especially in the event that you are leaving a balance from month to month, it just continues a cycle of, it being very difficult to pay off, which is the reason that it's considered bad debt. And then auto loan balances greater than the value of the vehicle also has been labeled as something that is bad debt. Okay. Now, let's talk about ways to be able to get out of that cycle and some things to look for when we are looking to pay off debt or becoming debt free. Okay. The first thing that you're going to want to do is take stock. And what we mean by that is just understanding what it is that you actually owe. Okay. You're then going to create a plan of action. Okay. You're going to work with your creditors, set goals, and create a spending plan. After that, you're going to put into work whatever action it is that you have drawn up for yourself, okay? You're going to plan for the future, and then you're going to want to make sure that you revisit your goals, okay? So now let's take a look at what those look like individually, okay? When we are actually taking stock of what it is that we owe, some things that you're going to want to do is make a list of everyone that you owe money to, including mortgages, student loans, credit cards, personal loans, student loans, and even money borrowed from family, right? One of the recommendations that I give is to, in addition to writing all of these things down as to not to forget, right? Over the course of about maybe 2 months or so, keep up with the mail that's coming through and also your email so you can look particularly for statements that you're receiving, right? To kind of bring into your memory things that, sometimes we just automatically forget about, right? When you're doing this, you're going to want to include the balances, the minimum payments, the amounts, and the interest rate of everything that you actually owe, okay? And then you're going to pull out your monthly spending plan to determine how much you can afford to pay above the minimum payment, okay? And that's going to be key to remember is how much you could pay above the minimum payments, okay? The next step is to actually make an action plan, okay? And that starts with setting your goals and understanding the reason that you're actually looking to be able to do this. Determine your why. Are you looking to be able to pay off debt, just to be able to sleep easier at night? Are you planning for, a long-term investment that you're looking to be able to make? Are you planning for a short-term investment that you're looking to make? Are you looking to be able to invest and just want to have more access to cash or capital to be able to do that? Understanding what it is that's motivating you and driving you to start this process in the first place. And then you're going to want to determine your needs versus your wants, right? And I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You're going to want to make sure that you have an emergency fund. And then after all of that, you're going to want to make sure that you choose the type of debt payoff method that you're going to go with, okay? And some of you might ask, what's a debt payoff method? All right, and I'm going to go over that now. So the debt payoff method, right? There are three that we actually recommend, and I'm going to go over all of those individually. Okay, so first is the debt snowball method, right? And what this one does is it pays off the balances that you have starting with the lowest balance. Okay, now keep in mind that you're going to continue to make minimum payments on all of your accounts, right? And you're going to prioritize everything it is that you owe. With the snowball method, you're actually going to pay based on the balances, starting with the smallest balance first. And then as you start to be able to pay off each individual account, you're going to go to the next account and then on and continue that process, right? Some great benefits and pros about this particular method is that it's going to give you a greater sense of satisfaction. And that's typically because you're going to be able to see the efforts of, what it is that you're doing really quickly, sometimes, in a matter of 1 to 2 months, right? As you're starting to be able to allocate all of the additional money towards accounts that are smaller balances, and they continue to roll up, you're going to be able to see those paid off, right? One of the cons is that you don't save as much money, right? And I think that that's going to tie into the next method, which is the debt avalanche method. Okay. Now, this particular method is involved with interest rates. Okay. So, as opposed to prioritizing your debts by the actual balance, what you're going to do in this particular method is you're going to prioritize them by the interest rate that you're paying them in, right? And then you're going to pay the highest interest rates first. Okay. Same method, you're going to make all the minimum payments on all of your accounts, and any additional money, you're going to have it go towards the account that has the highest interest rate. Okay. One of the pros on that is you're going to be able to save more money because it's eliminating the amount of interest that you're paying because you're targeting the highest interest first. Okay. One of the cons is it may get you a little bit discouraged easier because it may take just a little bit longer to actually see some of the benefits from, some of the ways that you've been making in terms of paying off the accounts. Okay. And then the last method is debt consolidation. And what that involves is just combining all of the debt into one actual payment, right? One of the pros of that is that it makes it a lot easier to be able to kind of manage because it only involves one payment, right? But the risk on this, and this is the reason why, I typically steer away from this. And, when I'm talking about, to members about ways to be able to pay off debt, is because it sometimes run the risk of accruing debt again, and approval may be difficult, right? So just because we're putting all of our payments into one account, right? What happens is we now move the credit card debt, we now move whatever access to be, to any type of loans that we have into one account, which frees us up to be able to go back to use those credit cards again, which is what got us in trouble in the first place, right? So can be a little bit tricky with that one. So I typically tend to steer away from that, but it is an option and it does work in the event that you're looking to be able to go that route. Okay. I'm sorry. I was going to take over your job there.
I mean, hey, if you want to read it off, you're more than
Go
welcome to,
ahead,
but
go
I'll
ahead.
give you a breather. So for our third polling question, we want to know which debt payoff method sounds best to you. A, the debt snowball, which is focusing on the highest debt first. B, the debt avalanche, which is focusing on the highest interest debt first. C, debt consolidation, or D, other. Maybe you have another method that may work best for you. I know with my student loans, I'm currently on B's my best plan for attack. I don't know about you, Sarah or Jason or Sue, if you guys have one you personally prefer.
I'm a
Uh,
snowballer all the way.
really? I would have to agree with Sutton. I would choose B. I just want to get like the big stuff out of the way first and then do the smaller stuff.
Yeah.
I want to see those accounts falling off. If I don't see it, I get discouraged and I'm just like,
Mm.
man, this is not working. Oh, I'm frustrated. So yeah, I'm a snowballer all the way.
Sue, I think Sue agreed with you. Let's see what some
Good.
of our
I'm
attendees
definitely.
say.
All right, it looks like our both A and B are tied for our most popular answer. Some of us, some of the attendees couldn't find the answer button, which is fine, but A and B is our most popular answer from attendees, Jason.
Nice. All right, guys, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's go to some questions. We have actually given out a lot of information at this point, and we just kind of want to do a quick check-in and see where everybody is. So who has questions, and what questions do you guys have so far?
Jason, I don't see anything in the Q&A currently, but one personal question someone asked me is if you had any apps for your phone you recommended for budgeting or anything like that, or keeping track of all your, if you have loans in different places and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so a big one that I'm actually recommending right now, in terms of budgeting, to be able to input all of the accounts that you have, to be able to set goals, so forth and so on, and to track and manage your finances, is Copilot. The name itself goes off really well with the cadets that I work with. But Copilot is one that's really, really good. Outside of the apps, though. Some of the, more traditional resources and tools that people use are going to be just as effective. So if anyone uses Excel to be able to keep track of their finances, that's a great one to be able to use. Google has one. It's called Google Sheets that you can actually use to be able to budget and manage finances. And there's always, the old school way of writing things down on paper and, just keeping a record on stuff that's handwritten. So, yeah.
All right, Sarah, do you have anything in your queue?
Let's see. Somebody said a recommendation for what helped me automate my budgeting is actually the Credit Karma app. I think it said they used to be a different app previously before Credit Karma bought it. So
Credit Karma
Anna.
does a really good job, and now it takes a little bit of effort on your part in that you have to upload some things sometimes for it to be able to manage, but it does a great job of showing absolutely everything that you owe from a lending perspective, right? Sometimes it won't include, smaller bills that you have that may not necessarily be reporting to a credit bureau.
One more question on my side, Jason. What's the first step someone should take if they want to start their debt-free journey, or start what's the first step if they're kind of stuck?
Yeah, so I think the first thing, going back to Sutton's point, is how to be able to manage, right? I think the first thing is, being able to put together some type of spending plan, right? And if you don't have an idea on how to be able to get that done, that's the reason that we're here, and we're going to actually drop some of our information on ways to be able to contact us just a little bit later in the presentation. But reach out. We are an absolutely free resource that you have the ability to be able to take advantage of. And we are here to help to be able to do exactly, what it is that you're asking in terms of getting you to that place to where you can actually start.
Thank you, Jason. That's it on my queue, but guys, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat and the Q&A, and we'll give them to Sue and Jason later on in the presentation. Oh, take it
Turning it back
over.
over to me.
Yep.
All right. So now that we have done all of the hard work in making sure that we take inventory, and in addition to that, right, putting together a plan, what we're going to do is roll up our sleeves and go to work, right? Work at it, okay? Implement a debt payoff plan using the method that you chose. You're also going to want to make sure that you use your spending plan every month to track income and expenses and adjust as needed. Okay. And then in the process or while doing that, right, what you're going to want to do is work on self-control. Changing habits takes time, so understand that this is a process, right? And if I can stress anything else in this particular process, right, I think that that's probably one of the most key things to focus in on is just making sure that at the same time that you're going through this process and learning it, is that you actually work on self-control, right? Because I think that that's where a huge part of the problem of actually getting, living above our means may happen is that, we tend to want instant gratification and we tend to go out and do things that sometimes are just a little bit, more than what we can afford financially. And that typically tends to get us in trouble. So working on self-control tends to contribute a lot to being able to sustaining, right, everything that you're changing once you start this process. Okay. And then after we start to work at everything it is that we have done, we're going to want to plan for the future. So set new goals, guys. Now that you guys have, managed your money and, you have a renewed sense of who you are financially, you want going to want to make sure that you set new goals, right? Focus on savings, build an emergency fund, work on contributing to retirement accounts, and in addition to that, investments, right? Because at this point, you should have been able to add some type of extra money to your spending plan and to your budget that you can focus directly towards those accounts, right? And then you also want to make sure that you maintain positive spending habits now that you've changed them, once you've identified, that you want to start to budget and eliminate your debt, okay? And then something that's going to be huge is revisiting your plan regularly. Okay. Set aside some time to monitor your progress, right? Ensure that you're still focused on your why, right? Always go back to that why because that why will keep you in check. And then readjust if you need to get back on track. Okay. What I will say is along this process, there will be times, that you may veer away from what you initially set out to do. But if you make sure that you have a plan to regularly visit, the budget and the reason that you actually started this process, it will kind of curb getting too far off track, right? And some tools to be able to give you to kind of do that, right, is to create some time either once a month or even if you're more, like focused about it and more, gung ho about making sure that you pay it off, right? Try to do it every 2 weeks. So every time that you get paid, revisit your spending plan and how it is that you're actually paying off debt and refocus yourself on your why every time you get paid. It's a good kind of way to be able to be thinking about finances because you're thinking about the money that you just received. Okay.
All right, for our fourth and final polling question, Jason, we want to know, this one's a little more easy. If you didn't have a monthly burden of budget or burden of debt, what would you do with the savings? A, take more vacations, B, add to retirement savings, C, take on a new hobby, or D, maybe something else. I think I'd probably go on more vacations. Or maybe D other would be buy more clothes because I love
Oh,
shopping and buying new clothes, but that's not in my budget really. So I don't know about you guys.
See, the problem with taking vacations though is the way the question is worded is you're going to have a lot of money, but you're not going to have a lot of time off. So you can probably only go for a weekend, right?
Right, right, just a little trip, a day trip.
It's like a day trip, a turnaround trip. So I think I do something else with my money. I maybe feed the poor or something. I don't know.
Sue, what about you?
I think I would take more vacations. I've been trying to add to my retirement savings, but I think that I've limited my vacations. So I think I would take more vacations. That sounds good.
I agree for sure. For sure.
And it looks like our polling is closed, and B was actually our most popular answer. So
Nice.
Thinking about the
great job.
future, guys. Thinking about the future. Great
Mm.
job. All right. So I talked about earlier, having the ability to be able to reach out, right? The department that I work in is called the Financial Wellness Department, and it is a valuable, valuable tool, right? That you have access to in the event that you're members, and even in the event that you're not members. I believe that we open up the doors to everyone, both members and not members. So, reach out to us, right? We are comprised of certified credit union financial counselors, right? And those counselors are experts in financial assistance for bruised credit situations. And they also look at advanced financial indebtedness solutions assistance, right? So they have ways to be able to help you out of paying any type of debt that you may currently be in. We hold you to account continuously and offer support and guidance. And then we're also going to typically hold educational seminars and webinars throughout the year, very similar to the one that you guys are in right now. Okay. The way to be able to contact us via phone is going to be listed here at 833-346-9355. Or in the event that you'd like to schedule an appointment with one of our counselors, you can easily reach out via email at financialwellness@aacreditunion.org. Okay. Some of the tools that we actually use to be able to help you are going to be the navigator that is up on our website. Once you visit aacreditunion.org, you can log into the navigator to be able to research. It's kind of like a Google engine drive for all things related to finances. In the event that you want to do self-paced learning. And then we're also going to offer you and utilize the online banking app. And we offer credit score and reporting for credit monitoring. Okay.
Alrighty, so I will let our audience keep throwing some more questions in the queue. It looks like we just got one in the queue. But while our audience keeps asking questions, I'm going to go over some announcements, and then we will take it back to the panel for those final questions here. So let me take over the screen sharing real quick. Alrighty. So to take advantage of financial wellness and all the financial solutions that Jason talked about today, that requires a basic membership with the credit union. So if nothing else, consider opening at least a share savings account. That way you can get to know the benefits of being a credit union member. And when you use promo code BD4412, we'll credit your new member deposit. And actually this week, we'll be depositing $25 for all new members. So if you're not a member yet, or if you have family members that want to sign up, this week is the time to do it. Plus, once you're a member, you're always a member. That means you can you can keep those credit union benefits if you decide to take another job opportunity outside the transportation industry, and continue meeting with our financial wellness counselors. Next here, I'll cover some offers really quickly, but if you scan that QR code, it'll take you to our offers page. And you can enjoy a 2.25% annual percentage rate intro rate on balance transfers when you open a new Visa low rate credit card. After 6 months, your rate will vary between 11.25% and 18% APR. And you can start saving now with an emergency fund savings plan and earn $25 when you receive deposits into your account for 2 consecutive months. And when you open a new checking account, you can earn $100 whenever you set up direct deposit. And you can be entered for a chance to win $1,000 whenever you sign up and enroll in online banking and set up a credit score goal. But be sure to scan that QR code or check out aacreditunion.org/offers for more details on these promotions. So enough about those announcements. I will go back to this page if anybody has any questions on that information. But Jason and Sue, any suggestions or tips to help someone that is resistant to budgeting?
Jason?
So, my first question would, I would ask a question first, right? And I would ask, why you're resistant to budgeting, right? I do a presentation with the cadets called the Foundation of Money Management, right? And if you look at it on any scale, right, in order to be able to understand the financial condition that you're in, you have got to document something somewhere, right? And so budgeting is going to be the way to be able to do that, right? And essentially, if you're looking at something as small as listing what it is that you owe, in some way or another, you're already budgeting, right? So what I would ask them is, what's the resistance to why you want to budget? And if you're one of those people that say, oh, well, I just keep everything in my head. Well, that's actually a form of budgeting, right? Let's help you build on what it is that you have so that we can accomplish whatever goal it is you're looking to be able to accomplish would be how I would respond to a resistant budgeter.
Uh, Jason, I have a question in my queue. Someone asked, in your opinion, how much emergency savings should someone have before aggressively focusing on paying off debt?
It's all based on, your personal preference. I don't think that there is a magic number. It's just being comfortable with where you are. For the most part, I think what's out in the financial world is having 6 months of reserves. But if I'm being quite honest, if I'm just thinking about my journey and where I started, I did not have 6 months of reserves built up. And there was no way that I could have gotten to that point, unless I started to budget to create that. And in the process of doing that I was working on paying things off. So there is no magic number. In the event that you have reserves built up, I think that that's great. If you don't, I would not discourage, you from continuing to want to pay off debt. But what you can do is, work on paying off debt while at the same time making sure that you have the ability to be able to build up a reserve or emergency funds account. So that would be kind of how I would respond to that.
Great answer. And somebody asked, how can I improve my credit score while paying down what I owe?
How can you improve your credit score by paying down what it is that you owe? Typically, in the event that you have debt, once you start to pay that debt down, your credit score is automatically going to be one of the benefits that you see by paying your balances off. So it will just automatically happen. So yeah.
Sutton, any questions on your side?
I don't have any more in my queue, Sarah.
Um, One final question for you, Jason, if you feel like answering it, you don't have to. But what was the biggest challenge you faced while getting out of debt, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, right, the snowball method that I chose, the debt payoff method that I typically choose is the snowball effect or the snowball method. And that's because, in the event that I did not see immediate or fast results, I'm the type of person that gets really discouraged and I can really go to, very quickly a place that this isn't working. I'm never going to get there. I'm too overwhelmed. There's too much going on. I'm just going to forget about it. So for me, the biggest challenge was, staying motivated and staying encouraged to be able to stick to the path of paying off debt. And the way that I overcame that was actually putting together, a budget and being able to, see that, forecast that, 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, and then a year down the line, right? It's kind of what helped me to get over, kind of the pain of I don't see anything happening right now. I'm never going to get out of this debt.
I like that. Great answer. Yeah, I think I'm going to start writing my finances down a bit more. I think it's kind of overwhelming when you think, oh, a spending plan, I have to create this. But yeah, just start writing down. Just start small.
Well, what's really funny is that what people don't realize is that everyone budgets, right? I think it's just the word budget has a very negative connotation to it. But when you think about what a budget is, all a budget is planning, right? So it's listing everything it is that you owe, and how you're going to pay that, right? That's literally what you're doing when you get your paycheck and you actually distribute it where it needs to go, right? All that is required or is necessary in order to be able to help you actually identify and be able to kind of put together and become more organized is actually a vehicle that allows you to be able to see all of those things that in real time, to actually kind of help you organize things just a little bit more to accomplish whatever goal it is that you're looking to pay off. So you're already budgeting without even knowing it. Now all you need to do is, get that on some paper or, in an app to where you can actually physically see it to be able to help you understand kind of areas that you could improve in.
Awesome. Sue,
Yeah.
anything else you'd like to add for our panel or for our questions?
I would just encourage everyone to recognize small victories. I too am a snowball effect person, and it was very easy to get discouraged. So even the smallest of victories, just pat yourself on the back and recognize that you're trying. It's not gonna, we didn't get here overnight. We're not gonna get out of it overnight. That's something that I share with all my members, but we're here to, we're your cheerleaders, we're your accountability buddies. We want to help you.
Celebrating those small wins.
Yep.
Another question, do you have any recommendations to automate expense tracking, Jason or Sue?
To automate it depends on what type of automation you're talking about. So if I'm talking to someone who's really tech savvy who can do things on their phone, a great app like I mentioned before is going to be Copilot. It's free. It's a free service. You don't have to pay for that. So just download that, upload the accounts that you have, for it to be able to kind of put together budgeting tools and tricks for you. Or if you don't mean necessarily by phone and you just want to automate, you can always access Excel from a computer, and that's kind of automating in a sense. And you can also download Excel into different programs as well. So that's a form of automation.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard lots of good things about Copilot. I think you can probably do the expense tracking in that app as well.
And what I would say also about the apps is for some reason, right? These budgeting apps come out and they start free, right? And they're really, really great. And then when they get really popular, they start to charge. So I would, just for the sake of, making sure that you minimize your expenses, right? Each year, like once a year or every 6 months, right? I would just Google really quickly, free budgeting apps because they're all going to change. And, I think it was the first when I first got into this job, it was Rocket Money, and then they started to charge and change the names. And so, yeah, make sure that you're finding free apps. They're available. If you're in an app that starts to charge, do a quick Google search to find the next, free budgeting app and take advantage of that. So, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for all of that information. No questions in my queue. Sutton, do you have anything else or should we wrap it up here?
I think we're good to wrap it up, Sarah.
Alrighty. Well, thanks to all of our attendings for tuning in to our Breaking Up with Debt webinar. Remember that if we didn't get to your question or if yours is a little bit more personal in nature, we'd be happy to reach out to you. Just indicate on your survey that you'd like a credit union representative to contact you, and we'll touch base early next week. Also, be sure to check out our event schedule by visiting our website, where you can see all of the remaining February webinar topics that are posted and next month's Shred events. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X for helpful financial financial tips and announcements about upcoming events and webinars. We also have a YouTube channel where you can watch previously recorded webinars just like this one, which will be recorded sometime next week. On behalf of Jason, Sue, Sutton, and myself and the entire credit union, we hope you're having a wonderful week. Happy Valentine's Day tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. Please stay safe, healthy, and happy. My panelists, do we have anything else y'all like to add to close it out for us?
Thank all you guys for attending. I hope that I was able to impart some wisdom on you, and make sure that you reach out in the event that you have any questions following this.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. We hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you. Thank you.